Hi, everyone, and welcome to Firstpost America. We're live in the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., where over the next few minutes we'll take you from the U.S. and around the world, covering all the top stories of the day. But before that, here's a look at the latest headlines. In a surprise move, U.S. military officers attend Russia and Belarus war games amid heightened tensions with NATO. Indian security forces hunt down a top Maoist commander and two other rebels, calling it a major breakthrough in the decades-long insurgency that's claimed more than 12,000 lives since 1967. The UK media reports that beginning next year, Israelis will no longer be allowed to enroll at the government-run London's Royal College of Defense Studies Institute as the Gaza war strains military ties. Nepal's interim prime minister appoints her first ministers after youth-led anti-corruption protests kill at least 72 people and force out the previous government in the worst unrest since the Civil War. And 15-year-old adolescent star Owen Cooper makes history as the youngest ever Emmy winner for Best Supporting Actor in a limited series. We begin here in the United States, where President Donald Trump has once again blamed the left for fostering a climate of hatred that contributed to the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University in Utah last Wednesday. Speaking in New Jersey yesterday, he singled out left-wing quote-unquote agitators for spreading anti-American rhetoric and promoting extreme political views, calling them sick and deranged.
The problem is on the left. If you look at the problem is on the left. It's not on the right, like some people like to say on the right. The problem we have is on the left. And when you look at the agitators, you look at the scum that speaks so badly of our country, the American flag burnings all over the place, that's the left, that's not the right.
The investigation into Kirk's killing has expanded to include pro-trans and other online groups linked to accused shooter Tyler Robinson. Authorities are now examining Robinson's social media activity and personal relationships to determine whether he acted alone or had accomplices.
Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices bulges, capital OWO, what's this?" ? Inscriptions on the three unfired casings read, "Hey fascist!" ! Catch! Up arrow symbol, right arrow and symbol, and three down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow." And a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO."
Meanwhile, FBI Director Kash Patel is facing intense scrutiny after making inaccurate public statements early in the investigation. Patel initially claimed the shooter was in custody, a statement quickly proven false, spotlighting concerns over his leadership during a high-profile case.
In less than 36 hours, 33 to be precise, thanks to the full weight of the federal government and leading out with the partners here in the state of Utah and Governor Cox, the suspect was apprehended in a historic time period. And I want to highlight what Governor Cox said. This would not have been possible without you, the media, and you, the public. That's why we went so public, so fast, and we're so transparent, and we're committed to that transparency.
Now, congressional oversight hearings scheduled for this week are expected to examine Patel's handling of the Kirk investigation, his bureau-wide priorities, and the impact of a personnel purge that has removed multiple senior FBI executives. Now, critics have even expressed concern that Patel's shift in focus towards street crime, immigration enforcement, and other politically charged areas may have drawn attention away from national security and public corruption cases traditionally handled by the FBI.
At the outset of an investigation, much of the initial intelligence is typically wrong or slightly off. That's why what he did yesterday has never been done by any FBI director before him, or any division leadership before. The investigators need to sort through all the initial intelligence before putting out factual evidence. FBI does not run investigations on social media.
Now, in the meantime, in response to Kirk's killing, the Trump administration is seeking an additional $58 million in federal funding to strengthen security for the executive and judicial branches. The request comes as Republicans prepare a stopgap spending bill ahead of the September 30th deadline. The funding aims to address rising concerns about political violence in the United States, particularly after recent high-profile attacks on public figures, including a most recent killing of Minnesota lawmakers, as well as last year's assassination attempt on President Donald Trump during the presidential campaign. So with the investigation into Kirk's assassination still ongoing, and as authorities pursue leads, the case is expected to remain under intense national scrutiny, leaving questions about accountability, political influence, and public safety unresolved. Following the horrific beheading of a man in Dallas last week, President Donald Trump has spoken out strongly. He called the attack terrible and promised that the accused will face the toughest possible punishment under the law. The president also took aim at the Biden administration, which he blames for releasing the suspect back into the community. He declared that under his leadership, the era of being soft on illegal immigrant criminals is over. New details continue to emerge about the suspect's violent past and the chain of events leading up to the tragedy. Here's more from Dallas.
The shock of a brutal killing in Dallas has drawn a direct response from the White House. President Donald Trump on Sunday condemned the beheading of Indian-origin motel manager Chandramouli Bob Nagamalaya, calling the act terrible and vowing that his administration would no longer tolerate leniency toward undocumented immigrant offenders. The time for being soft on these illegal immigrant criminals is over, Trump declared in a Truth Social post. Expressing sympathy for Nagamalaya's family, he said that he was aware about the brutal beheading, and adding that an illegal alien from Cuba who should have never been in our country. The accused, 37-year-old Cuban national Yordanis Cobos Martinez, was described by Trump as a repeat offender with a criminal record including child sex abuse, grand theft auto, and false imprisonment. This individual was released back into our homeland under incompetent Joe Biden because Cuba did not want such an evil person in their country, Trump alleged, promising that Cobos Martinez would be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and Border Czar Tom Homan, Trump added, were doing an incredible job in making America safe again. The Department of Homeland Security later confirmed that Cobos Martinez had been released on an order of supervision earlier this year after Cuba refused to accept him back. The fatal attack took place on the morning of September 10th at the Downtown Suites Motel on Samuel Boulevard, where Nagamalaya had managed operations for nearly 3 years. According to an arrest affidavit, the incident began with a dispute over a broken washing machine, and when Nagamalaya asked Cobos Martinez not to use the appliance, the accused grew enraged, particularly after the request was translated through a colleague. What followed was a horrifying sequence. CCTV footage showed Cobos Martinez pulling out a machete and chasing Nagamalaya across the motel's parking lot as his wife and teenage son looked on. Witnesses recall the victim's desperate screams before he was struck multiple times. The attack ended with Nagamalaya's decapitation. According to police, the accused kicked the severed head into the lot before placing it in a trash bin. Cobos Martinez was arrested shortly after, still wearing a blood-soaked T-shirt and carrying the weapon. He later admitted to the killing during interrogation. The Dallas Police Department has charged him with capital murder, a charge that carries either life imprisonment without parole or death penalty if convicted. The Indian consulate in Houston expressed deep sorrow over the incident, stating that officials were in touch with the grieving family and offering all necessary assistance. The accused is in the custody of the Dallas police. We are following up on the matter closely, it posted on X. As investigators continue to piece together how a man with such a violent criminal history ended up free in the community, the crime has reignited questions over immigration enforcement and border security. And in the aftermath of one of Dallas's most chilling murders, one haunting thought remains. Could this tragedy have been prevented?
And now shifting focus to Latin America, it's been nearly 2 decades since military jets landed at Puerto Rico's Roosevelt Roads base. But now, 5 U.S. F-35s are back, signaling a shift in American operations across the Caribbean. The stealth aircraft are part of a broader deployment ordered by President Donald Trump himself, which aims at cracking down on drug cartels in South America. But with Venezuela reacting sharply and regional tensions continuing to rise, the move is drawing intense scrutiny, raising new questions about Washington's military posture in the region. Our next report explores more.
The Caribbean is on the edge. Stealth fighters in the skies, warships at sea, and alleged fishermen caught in the crossfire. 5 U.S. F-35 jets have landed in Puerto Rico. They touched down at the former Roosevelt Roads base in Cebu. The arrival is part of a deployment ordered by President Donald Trump. He called for 10 of the stealth aircraft to reinforce operations in the Caribbean. Washington says the mission is to counter drug cartels. The jets are reportedly joined by helicopters, Ospreys, and transport planes. U.S. personnel have also been allegedly seen at the base in recent days. Together, the buildup marks one of the largest in the region in years. The sightings followed a surprise visit by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. He traveled to Puerto Rico last week with America's top general. Their stop underscored the scale of tensions with Venezuela. And the choice of aircraft has sent a clear message. The F-35s are among the most advanced fighters in the world. Analysts say they would outmatch Venezuela's aging fleet. Caracas still relies on older jets, including the F-16 jets. The Pentagon says there are no changes to U.S. force posture, but reports suggest the deployment supports live operations at sea. President Trump himself has put Venezuela at the center of the mission.
A lot of drugs are coming out of Venezuela, a lot of Tren de Aragua, and we don't like what Venezuela is sending us, whether it's their drugs or whether it's their gang members. We don't like it. We don't like it one bit.
Those remarks came just days after the U.S. struck a suspected cartel vessel. The attack destroyed the boat and killed 11 people in the Caribbean. Washington claims they were members of the Tren de Aragua gang. Venezuela denies the claim and says the U.S. is fabricating a threat. Caracas is also pointing to a new incident at sea. It accuses a U.S. destroyer of boarding a Venezuelan tuna fishing boat. Officials say the USS Jason Dunham allegedly held the vessel for 8 hours. 9 fishermen were detained before being released.
They deceived the fishermen, saying they were in communication with us, and we are still waiting for the final report on that visit and search of the fishermen. We're still waiting for it. That is to say, there is no maritime convention here, no treaty that we have signed with the United States itself regarding drugs at sea.
Venezuela's defense minister called the act a deception. Its foreign minister warned Washington is seeking provocation. He accused the U.S. of looking for a clash to justify escalation. Caracas has already been preparing for that possibility. President Nicolas Maduro has mobilized Venezuela's armed forces. Thousands of troops and militias are deployed across 284 so-called battlefronts. In Caracas, civilian volunteers are also training with rifles. Maduro says Venezuela faces its greatest threat in a century. President Trump insists the focus is on traffickers, but he has not ruled out further strikes. When asked about land targets in Venezuela, he said, "We'll see what happens." For now, the confrontation is playing out in the skies and at sea. F-35 stand ready in Puerto Rico. Venezuelan troops mobilize on the coast, and fishermen find themselves at the center of a growing storm, a storm that neither side seems ready to calm.
And now to Madrid, where the United States and China are once again locked in negotiations to discuss not only tariffs and trade, but also the future of TikTok, the app at the center of a geopolitical storm. Delegations by the U.S. Treasury Secretary and the Chinese Vice Premier gathered at Spain's Foreign Ministry for their fourth round of talks in 4 months. The first day stretched nearly 6 hours on Sunday, yet it ended without any sign of a breakthrough as the delegations continued talks for the second day. And at the heart of the discussions is TikTok. During day 2 of the talks, Besant said that the U.S. and China are close to reaching an agreement on the short video app. Besant said both sides made progress on technical details, but reaching a new deal on other issues would be deeply challenging.
We made very good progress on the technical details of the agreement. In terms of the agreement, the overall agreement itself, our Chinese counterparts have come with very aggressive asks. We will see if we can get there. At present, we are not willing to sacrifice our national security for a social media app, and we will see where we get today.
Now, Washington has ordered TikTok's parent company ByteDance to sell its U.S. operations by September 17th or face a complete shutdown. The deadline has been extended several times, and while experts believe Madrid is unlikely to deliver a final settlement, another extension remains the most probable outcome. The dispute is part of a broader trade conflict that escalated after President Trump imposed steep tariffs on Chinese goods. Beijing retaliated with its own tariffs and even halted shipments of rare earth minerals, which are critical for many U.S. industries. Then in July, negotiators met in Stockholm and agreed to a truce that reduced triple-digit tariffs and restarted rare earth exports, but the underlying disagreements were left unresolved. Now, TikTok has been added to the agenda for the first time, and the U.S. argues that since TikTok is owned by ByteDance, which is a Chinese entity, it poses a national security threat because of potential government access to American users' data. Now, Beijing strongly denies this accusation, insisting that its laws do not force companies to hand over data. President Trump, however, on Sunday commented on TikTok, saying that the company's fate could depend on China and suggested that the app could either survive or be allowed to collapse. He added that he'd like to preserve it for young users while also admitting that he personally benefited from TikTok's popularity during his campaign, particularly with young voters.
They're negotiating TikTok right now. We may let it die, or we may, I don't know, it depends, up to China. It doesn't matter too much. I'd like to do it for the kids, they like it. I mean, selfishly speaking, I did very well on TikTok, and I got the youth vote. I got numbers that nobody's ever even come close to in the Republican Party, nobody. If you look back to Romney and all these people, they got practically no votes. I got a lot. And some was attributed to TikTok, and a lot was attributed to Charlie.
Now, President Trump was also asked if he would impose further tariffs on China, to which he replied that his administration will decide later.
See, but we've hit them very hard in so many other ways. I don't know if you know. Do you know what they're paying right now? What are they paying right now? You know what China's paying right now in tariffs? Huh? A lot.
Now, trade experts warn that Madrid will not produce a sweeping breakthrough, especially with the 55% U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods extended until November 5th. For now, however, both Washington and Beijing appear willing to keep talking, but whether those conversations can resolve the deeper issues dividing the two sides is a question that remains unanswered. And finally to Israel, where U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem for bilateral talks. Rubio promised unwavering support to Israel in its Gaza goals, declaring that Hamas must be eliminated and that hostages must be returned immediately.
Gaza deserve a better future, but that better future cannot begin until Hamas is eliminated. That better future and that kind of peace is not even possible until the hostages are released, all of them, every single one. And so that's what we continue to be focused on. That's what the president wants to see happen, and that's what you can count on our unwavering support and commitment to see come to fruition.
Now, Rubio also pressed on the ongoing tensions between the U.S. and Israel over the recent attack in Qatar, saying that Washington will encourage continued constructive engagement by Doha on Gaza. Netanyahu, for his part, described Rubio's visit as a clear message that the United States stands firmly with Israel and went on to call President Donald Trump the greatest friend Israel has ever had in the White House.
Our presence here in Israel today is a clear message that America stands with Israel. You stand with us in the face of terror, in the face of the incredible, I would almost say, Middle Ages lies that are directed against us, the rising anti-Semitism in the world, and the really the weak governments that are putting pressures on us because they collapse under the pressure of Islamist minorities and incredible vilification.
Now, ahead of his visit, Rubio made it clear that his trip would focus on securing the return of hostages, ensuring that humanitarian aid reaches civilians, and confronting what he described as the threat posed by Hamas. He's argued that Hamas cannot continue to exist if peace in the region is to be achieved.
Going to get a much better understanding of what their plans are moving forward. What's happened has happened. Obviously, we were not happy about it. The president was not happy about it. Now we need to move forward and figure out what comes next. Because at the end of the day, when all is said and done, there is still a group called Hamas, which is an evil group that still has weapons and is terrorizing.
Now, Rubio's visit comes at a very delicate time as Israel is becoming increasingly isolated diplomatically, with the United Nations preparing for a heated debate next week on the recognition of a Palestinian state, something Prime Minister Netanyahu firmly opposes. Rubio's visit also comes just days after Israel carried out a strike in Doha that killed 5 Hamas members and a Qatari security officer. The attack received President Trump's rebuke, saying that he was very unhappy about the way it went down.
I'm not thrilled about the whole situation. It's not a good situation. But I will say this, we want the hostages back, but we are not thrilled about the way that went down today. I'm never surprised by anything, especially when it comes to the Middle East. I'll be giving a full statement tomorrow, but I would tell you this, I was very unhappy about it, very unhappy about every aspect, and we got to get the hostages back. But I was very unhappy about the way that went down.
Now, Netanyahu, however, defended the operation, saying killing the group's leaders would remove the main obstacle to ending the Gaza war. And just as Rubio arrived in Israel, Trump issued a caution, saying that Qatar has been a great ally to the United States.
With them, they've been a great ally. A lot of people don't understand that about Qatar, but Qatar's been a great ally. They also lead a very difficult life because they're right in the middle of everything. So they have to be a little bit politically correct in their terms. But I will tell you, they've been a great ally for the United States, Qatar.
Now, for Washington, this is a difficult balancing act as Qatar hosts the largest American military base in the region and is a key U.S. ally, while Israel remains Washington's closest partner in the Middle East. On day one, Rubio and Netanyahu visited the Western Wall and touched and placed written notes at the sacred Jewish site. Afterwards, the Israeli Prime Minister thanked Rubio for visiting the country, praising it as a testament to the resilience of the U.S.-Israel ties.
Rubio and his wife, Janet, I think his visit here is a testament to the durability, the strength of the Israeli-American alliance. It's as strong and as durable as the stones of the Western Wall that we just touched under President Trump and Secretary Rubio and their entire team. This alliance has never been stronger. and we deeply appreciate it, not only on behalf of the people of Israel who live today, the generations of Jews who preceded us, and hope that we'll build our state anew with friends like you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much. Thank you for walking.
Now, Netanyahu and Rubio also offered a joint prayer for the safety of the hostages, as well as a special prayer honoring President Donald Trump, whom Netanyahu described as a true friend of the Jewish people and the state of Israel. During his stay, Rubio is also scheduled to meet Israel's president, the country's foreign minister, and other senior officials, as well as attend the inauguration of a controversial tunnel project beneath the Palestinian neighborhood of Silwan. The project has already raised concerns among Palestinians who fear it could weaken the foundations of their homes and further dilute their presence in the area. On the ground, however, the conflict continues to intensify. At least 13 Palestinians were killed in an Israeli strike on Sunday, with local hospitals reporting dozens of others wounded, though the Israeli military has not immediately commented on the casualties. Israel's forces have also ramped up their assault on Gaza in recent days, destroying several high-rise towers in densely populated parts of Gaza City. For now, what remains to be seen is whether these talks between Netanyahu and Rubio solve the brewing crisis in the Middle East. From all of us here at First Post America, we certainly thank all of you for tuning in. We hope to see you right back here again tomorrow. Thanks again, everyone, for watching.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
stands at $36 trillion.
French,